Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, I'll be doing a review and how to play of The Batman Who Laughs Rising, so let's get into it. So The Batman Who Laughs Rising is a cooperative dice building game that combines elements of both deck building, card collecting, and dice building in a challenging, fun experience. And so like I said, the game itself plays as a deck builder slash dice builder where you are taking on the role of various DC heroes to combat the evil Batman Who Laughs and his Dark Knight army who are invading the DC universe trying to take over the world. And so this is a multiverse experience where the Batman Who Laughs comes from a universe where the Joker and an evil Batman version have combined into one, and he is leading the various Dark Knights or evil supervillains to attack the DC universe. And so you'll join forces as various DC heroes and even some DC villains to take down the evil Batman Who Laughs and his army. And so this game is a 1 to 4 player experience, and it can take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours as you play. But let's jump into the game itself so you can see a bit more on how it's played, and then we'll go into my full review of the game after that. All right, now that we've got the game set out, we'll walk you through the basic setup of starting the game and the basics on how to play so you have a better understanding of what's going on. So the first step of the game is to choose your initial starting hero. So there's 4 to choose from: Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Wonder Woman, or Batman. And so in this case, we're playing a 2-player game. We've chosen to start with Hawkgirl and then Wonder Woman. And then you can actually flip over these starting cards for a step-by-step sequence of how to play your turn. So that's very helpful to have out. The next thing that you want to do is lay out the Dark Knight track. And so the villain cards of the game, the Dark Knights, are going to have this backing, and then these are the various main Dark Knight villains of the game. So you'll take these, shuffle them up, and lay them out on the Dark Knight track here at the top. And so these are the various villains that will show up throughout the game. You'll actually put the Batman Who Laughs at the final space here. You then set out your damage tokens, your various dice through the game, as well as the Dark Knight tokens, the bonus tokens over here within reach of the game, and then you'll set up your draw deck. And so the draw deck is going to consist of the various heroes, and then you also have minor villains that you can add within the deck as well. And so this game is extremely hard to win when you play, so you can actually choose to put in all the minor villains or just some of them depending on how challenging you want the game to be. From this point, just shuffle this deck, and then you'll flip up 3 heroes or potentially villains at each of the locations on the map. So there's 3, and so you just simply do 1 at each one of these locations. You'll start with the Batman Who Laughs starting at a random location, and then the player that goes first is going to be the last person that read a DC comic. And so when you start the game at this point, we'll say Wonder Woman, this character, and read the comic first. They're going to choose a location, and then this is where that character is going to be at, and now that character has the opportunity to recruit any heroes at this location or also damage villains at this location. At this point, you will simply roll the 2 die, the Dark Knight die, as well as the Batman Who Laughs die. So you roll this, and now they will do actions accordingly. So in this case, you're going to add 1 to the Dark Knight track, and then whenever there's the Ha symbol, the Batman Who Laughs will stay at the location they're currently at. If it happens to be a left, the statue will turn to the Batman Who Laughs left in this case. Or if it happens to be right, the Batman Who Laughs will turn to their right on the location. At this point, you may have just a plain symbol, or you might have a symbol with the thorn crown around it as well. If you have a plain symbol, all that's going to happen is the Batman Who Laughs is going to damage each hero at this location, including any heroes if one of your players happens to be there. all of their hero cards will get damaged. Also, any villain cards will activate. Typically they say if the Batman Who Laughs is at this location, so if they're pointing there, then that ability will activate for the villain. If the Thorn symbol is played, it will activate the furthest up villain ability shown on the Dark Knight tracker. So if 2 are shown, for example, it's only going to activate the furthest along option. Whatever amount you rolled in the yellow Dark Knight tracker, you simply add that token to the track, however many it required you to add. At this point, the heroes will roll their appropriate die that they have acquired. So in this case, the Wonder Woman will start with 4 power die. So you roll that. Now you are able to use your various symbols and assign them to heroes or villains at this location. So in this case, we've got a double Wonder Woman. Could go on Cyborg. He's looking for 3. And he also needs 1 bat. So I'll assign 1 bat. At this point, once die have been assigned, you can re-roll and add them to the characters. So at this point, Cyborg needed 3 Wonder Woman symbols and a bat. He has been recruited, and now at the end of the turn, he can add that card to this player's play area. Any damage that hero may have accumulated during that process of the Batman Who Laughs moving around and attacking players can be removed so his health is fully restored. At this point, any heroes that have been fully damaged will be removed from the game and killed off, and so you can simply discard those at this point. Same thing with any heroes in this area. One thing to note is that heroes can only receive their maximum damage, and so any additional damage that would be accumulated is not counted. Also, if you can remove any amount of damage, so a player is not fully damaged by the end of the turn, that player will survive. If you happen to assign die to damage villains, they will get 1 damage token, and you also will draw a bonus token. These bonus tokens can be used throughout gameplay in both your turn or another player's turn, but you can only use them after you have rolled the Dark Knight die and the Batman Who Laughs die. You also may not use a bonus token immediately. You have to wait until that next turn starts. Also, at the end of the turn, if any Dark Knight card track has been fully filled, you will then add this to the top of the draw deck, making it the next card that was revealed. If you've recruited any heroes at this point or killed off any villains, you must replace those spots before the next turn begins, and now new heroes are added. This process will continue alternating between heroes back and forth, where they can recruit heroes and attack villains and kill them off. As this process continues and the Dark Knight track continues to fill, once this final track has been filled, now the Batman Who Laughs is revealed. At this point, any player that is at the location of the Batman Who Laughs, basically meaning they are at where the Batman Who Laughs is pointing, you may now use your dice and assign them to damage the Batman Who Laughs. In order to damage the Batman Who Laughs, you need 3 of a kind of either the Green Lantern symbol, the Batman symbol, or Hawkgirl symbol, and you are able to add a damage to the Batman Who Laughs. You also still draw a bonus token once you've damaged the Batman Who Laughs, so you will acquire that as well. Once this symbol is full, you'll also then activate this as the final villain ability that is in play when a Thorn Crown symbol is rolled on the Batman Who Laughs die. Players will lose if the entire Batman Who Laughs track is full, if 10 or more heroes have been killed off, or if any one player has lost all of their heroes, the game is over and the villains win. However, one thing to note is that if players are able to win in the same turn that any of those things happen, the players will win. As I mentioned, this game is extremely difficult. So what you can do to make the game easier, you can decide to give the Batman Who Laughs less hit points. So you might kill him on 3 or 2 or 1 damage instead of 4. You can increase the Dark Knight track. So there's a hard side or an easy side. You can also remove as many basic villains as you choose to from the starting deck to make the game easier. But other than that, that's a basic overview of how you play the Batman Who Laughs. If you have any questions, consult the rulebook for more specifics, or feel free to drop a comment below if you have any other questions on how to play. But now that you know a bit on how to play, let's jump into the full review and give you my thoughts on the game. All right, now that you know a bit more on how to play, what do I actually think about the game? Well, this game is really fun. I really enjoy the dice building, deck building experience. Plus, I think if you're a fan of the DC universe, you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of this game. I believe the game itself is also based on one of the storylines of the comics where the Batman Who Laughs comes into play. Myself, I'm not an avid reader of comics in general, and I haven't read this comic series, but I think if you have, you'll probably get even more enjoyment out of it. But I think if you're just a general DC fan as well, you'll recognize some of the characters, but some of the characters are also more obscure to the specific DC universe. So again, I think if you're more of a DC fan and know more of the backstory and lore on the characters, you'll enjoy this more. But I think even casual fans will enjoy this as well. Now, this game is part of the Rising series, and there are several different versions of the Rising games, and many of them are very similar. And so while I did like this game a lot of the gameplay mechanics are pretty much the same from Rising game to Rising game. So I think if you're a DC fan, you should certainly pick this one up. But if you're not so much a DC fan and you're a fan of the other genres of Rising games, I think you might be better suited to check out one of those games instead. And so there's versions like SpongeBob Rising, there's a Harry Potter Rising game, there's a Star Wars Rising game, there's this Batman Who Laughs Rising. And so again, I think you want to just choose the one that you like the theme of, because the gameplay itself is very similar from game to game. I myself have played the Batman Who Laughs Rising and the Harry Potter Rising, and I enjoy both of those universes. And so I think it's worth having both games, but if you're just choosing one, choose the one that you like the theme the best, because they all play very similar. Now, something about this game specifically is that it's extremely hard. And so my girlfriend and I played various versions of the game, starting with the most difficult and then making it easier through every playthrough. And we pretty much got all the way down to the easiest version possible by taking out all of the basic villains, making the Dark Knight track as long as possible, and we literally won on the last possible turn. And it came down to that tying scenario where we won but also died at the exact same time. But since we were the players, we actually won the game compared to the villains winning. And so that's one thing that I would say, is that it does have a high replay value because it's different every time. The cards come out differently, who you're recruiting, the strategies you're implementing. And so that makes it a ton of fun, but it can certainly be frustrating because, like, again, the game is extremely hard and you should come into this expecting to lose almost every single time you play. But even when you do lose, the game is still a lot of fun, and I think it's worth playing, especially if you're a fan of the DC universe. So if you like deck building games, you like dice building games, you like rolling fistfuls of die and then making strategic choices along the way, this is definitely a game worth picking up. And if you'd like to check out a copy and pick up a copy, there'll be a link in the description below where you can do that. But I definitely recommend any of the Rising games and adding them to your nerd library. But especially if you like the DC universe, the Batman Who Laughs Rising is a great game and worth picking up. But let me know in the comments below if you like this game, if you like the other Rising games better, which one's your favorite. Let me know if you've read the comic series the Batman Who Laughs is based on. I'd love to know more about that as well. Or if there's any other great dice building, deck building games I should check out, let me know that in the comments below as well. But if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button, as it really helps out the channel. If you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out here. If you'd like to help us support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And if you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, follow us over on Twitch at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.